Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a brand new weekly episode here of our NR2003 NASCAR Cup Series follow-along season of this 2022 season here as we head to Phoenix Raceway today, fresh off of 3 crazy weeks of this series with the Daytona 500, where we saw Joey Logano go to victory lane, Kevin Harvick and Auto Club holding off Denny Hamlin in the closing laps to win his first race of the season, and most recently last week from Las Vegas Motor Speedway, Chase Elliott coming out on top after drama the week before with his teammate of Kyle Larson. And now we head into Phoenix for race number 4 on the season for 156 laps around this racetrack. As usual, I am joined by Jay Cook. And Jay, we have already made it to the final race of the West Coast Swing. And we come to the championship track. So this right here is a huge race for a lot of the competition today, especially if you're a playoff contender, knowing you're getting a good feel for this championship race. And you could learn a lot if you're going to be one of those championship 4 contenders at the end of this year.
I don't know if you want to gather too much information in this race, though, because I bet you that all these cars are going to handle a lot differently next time we come here in Phoenix in November. They're going to have a lot of time to work on these cars throughout the season and learn things about them and make the setups faster and just make everything faster and better about these cars. So you may not learn too much about this racetrack this time around, but certainly still some good information, good time to get track time. All that kind of stuff. And also with each week that passes by, we're still going to new types of tracks. We're still finding new types of challenges for these drivers. So once again, now we're at our first quote unquote short track of the season. And it's going to be a bit of a shorter race as well. Phoenix always goes by really quick.
156 laps, stage 1 and 2 are about 30 laps apiece. No green flag stops necessary in the first 2 stages, but there will be a couple of green flag pit stops in stage 3, here, as Alex Bowman, Kyle Busch ready to lead the field to the green flag. A little bit of IRL drama between these two drivers in the last week as we are underway from Phoenix Raceway. Watch for them to be doing that right there, cutting down onto this dog leg here. This is, of course, by no means any form of plate racing track here at Phoenix Raceway, but there's a lot of potential for chaos on these starts because that dogleg opens up the opportunity for drivers to be going 3, 4, even 5 wide. So we could see some crazy action on these restarts here today.
Yeah, we've seen it happen previously at Phoenix, and it's going to be this race, especially in restarts, is going to be wild. That dogleg, like you said, can provide the opportunity to go 3, 4 wide, and 3 wide they can certainly get away with. If you see 4 like we saw there for a moment, I actually still see with Christopher Bell, Kurt Busch, Chris Buescher, there's still 4, a little bit of contact, but it looks like they might make it. But 4 is where it starts to get a little bit sketchy, and they do make it. And this early on in the race, I don't know if I'd want to be going 4 wide.
I wouldn't want to either, but you know what? They are not hesitating to get those elbows out and scrap it out here. And now Kurt Busch side by side with Cole Custer as they come through this dog leg now. And somehow we've kept it clean for these opening few laps here. Now, not a lot of racing in stage 1 and 2. We mentioned only 30 laps are the first 2 stages. So not a lot of time for drivers to get going here in the right direction. Daniel Suarez there in the background, just behind the number 43 of Eric Jones. Not the run he is currently looking for. And Austin Cindric a little bit down at the order as well, as you continue to see about mid-pack here. Some 3 wide action. The one in the 41 got together just a little bit there, heading down into the tri-oval, but up front it's at number 48 of Alex Bowman leading the way, with Denny Hamlin trailing him just behind in that FedEx Toyota Camry here. Now, Jay, we see Kevin Harvick there on the inside. I feel like there's a good opportunity, not only in real life, but in NR 2003 as well, to see Kevin Harvick get up there in the mix today, as well as, like I said, IRL. Such a wheelhouse for Kevin Harvick here in Phoenix Raceway, and I feel like with this new car, really could be an opportunity to maybe allow him to get that Phoenix dominance kind of back towards his name a little bit.
Yeah, certainly for Kevin Harvick, I'm sure that he is once again confident to be back here at Phoenix and having a better start this year than he had last year. Like we mentioned, he had the first. Oh, actually,
Trouble.
Custer gets turned, and it looks like it's not going to be too much contact for anybody else, but that is going to cause a caution, I believe. And Cole Custer got some early damage already, and the caution is out.
That's the earliest we've seen a caution all season long right here on lap 6. Cole Custer's gone around, not the start of the season he's been looking for. Your Homestead Miami winner last season in our NR 2003 series went way further in the playoffs than Jay and I ever expected. He turned it up and had some strong performances here in the very back of the pack. You're seeing some stack ups there. Custer's going to drill the back of the 78 to do even more damage to his Ford Mustang. And caution number 1 already here from Phoenix, and that brings some drivers into the pit lane for already the first round of pit stops. These guys not hesitating, even with 6 laps complete, to come in and get a fresh set of tires here. Now, and Jay, that sets the standard already. You know, these guys, they're being more aggressive, I think, today than we've seen all season long already. But look at this as well, a bit of a curveball. Daniel Suarez stays out on the track.
Yeah, and already we're seeing some strategies take place with Suarez staying out, some drivers potentially going with 2 tires instead of 4, but never mind, looks like most are going to go with 4 tires. Actually, Kyle Busch might have done 2, considering how quick he's coming out of the pits compared to everybody else right now. But Denny Hamlin also gets Alex Bowman off of pit road right there, so Bowman losing a couple spots here between drivers staying out, taking 2 tires, and also just plain old having a slower pit stop than Denny Hamlin.
Let's go take a look at the first accident already of the day. It had the potential to be a lot larger than it was, but fortunately, turns out to just be a few cars involved here in the first accident already, just 6 laps in here from Phoenix Raceway. Here's a look here as they were 4 wide into turn 1 with the 45 of Kurt Busch on the outside. Custer Ware in the middle. You see contact right there. And Jay, I mean, the 45 and the 41, they just kind of run each other out of room. And, well, right into the wall they went. The 2 car, just an innocent bystander.
Yeah, the 41 put Kurt into the wall and continued to just keep turning right, and spun himself around, and then still after the fact as well comes around back to pit road and runs into the back of the 78, makes things worse for him and the 78 as well. So for Cole Custer, not a great start to this race at all, and certainly he wants to be having better races than he's going to have today, because that's a lot of damage to that 41 car early on.
Not a good start for Custer today, and not a good start overall to the season for the number 41. Now getting ready to go green from Phoenix here as Daniel Suarez will lead the way. No tires, no pit stop for Suarez. 2 tires for Kyle Busch. Denny Hamlin on back, 4 fresh tires. Jay, how would you expect to see that 99 and 18 hold off? I mean, they only ran 6 laps or so under green flag conditions. That 99 could find himself maybe in a better position at the end of this first stage than what he was going to be maybe if he came in and took 4 tires along with everybody else.
Yeah, I have to think both the 99 and the 18 will be in pretty good position here. I don't think the tires are too terribly worn, so for Suarez staying out, for Kyle Busch taking 2 tires, I think they're going to be okay, and certainly so far, at least on the first lap, they look all right.
And in the background, you see that 2 of Austin Cindric all the way back here. No front bumper on that number 2 car. So not going to be a pleasant experience for not only him, but I'm sure for some of the drivers out here as well that might have to navigate their way around that number 2 car. Daniel Suarez, Kyle Busch have held on so far. They're still P1, P2, 2 tires on the 18. No tires like we said on the 99. Elliott might be 3 wide here momentarily, but no, William Byron, his Hendrick Motorsports teammate, cuts him a bit of a break there as they head down this back straightaway. And Jay, once again, a bit of a common trend here. We're seeing 3 Hendrick cars of Byron, Elliott, as well as that 48 running up inside the top 5. We saw right there, I believe that was, who was that we just saw in the pit lane? I think the number 31. Corey LaJoie, the number 7. But we're still seeing Hendrick Motorsports and Joe Gibbs Racing very strong this season. But surprisingly, Jay, we've seen Kyle Larson kind of be the odd guy out here at Hendrick so far in this NR2003 series.
Yeah, we've seen Hendrick be really good so far, at least early on in all of these races, and every time that we look and see where all the Hendrick drivers are, you're right, Kyle Larson is usually the bottom of those drivers, but he's still running inside the top 10, still being competitive, and doing a really nice job so far as Kyle Larson, but he's certainly not off to the dominant streak that he had last year. And Kyle Busch right now with those 2 tires, I thought for a second that he was going to look a little bit rough on this restart. Well, there he goes right there, challenging Suarez for the lead right now, has it, but Chase Elliott, he is also challenging for the lead as well on those 4 new tires. A couple laps into this run, it seems like perhaps Daniel Suarez's tires are falling off a little bit, and Chase Elliott really good, looking really good right now, even making a move on Kyle Busch on in the dog leg.
About to be halfway through already, though, of Stage 1. Elliott up the inside. That's last week's winner and the first driver on 4 fresh tires. He would like to get some more playoff points. He's already locked into the playoffs. 5 playoff points with the win in Las Vegas. And, well, he wants to add another one to that list here as he takes the lead. Suarez, Kyle Busch fading now down the order, especially Suarez 3 wide with Truex up the inside. Reddick in the middle. Jay, we've seen a lot of speed, not only in real life, but in this series. That's the one driver we've nailed so far, Tyler Reddick. He has been strong. He had issues IRL last week. He had issues in NR2003 last week here, but still nonetheless, when he is not running in issues, that number 8 car has a lot of speed, and he's showing it again here in Phoenix.
Yeah, for Tyler Reddick, he's done a really nice job so far this season. Obviously, he hadn't got the finishes in both IRL and NR that he's kind of run to deserve, but shown the performance is there for that team and for him, for himself, and he's going to be a factor this season, especially if they can start clicking off those finishes and get the kind of finishes that he deserves right now. But for Tyler Reddick, off to a pretty good start this year, and Alex Bowman, you're seeing him right now, pretty good start in real life, much better start this season in NR than he had last year as well. So for Alex Bowman, he's also looking to redeem himself with that Henrik Motorsports team in NR.
Tyler Reddick won 2 races last season in the NR2003 series. Most recent was the Charlotte Roval, and then he as well won earlier in the season at Richmond in a duel against Kurt Busch, put himself in playoff contention. But unfortunately for Reddick, was an early elimination in the playoffs, and then went and won Charlotte in the playoffs, but obviously was already out at that time. Daniel Suarez has now drifted outside of the top 10 down into the mid-teens, and Jay, a bit surprised here to see the 11 of Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick both fading as well now, as they find themselves in the very bottom part of the top 10. And actually, Hamlin and Harvick battling for that 10th and 11th position now, as they were well inside the top 10 to start this race, and 2 drivers we usually expect to see at a track like Phoenix up in the top 5 competing for the victory.
Yeah, Hamlin has lost a bunch of spots since we restarted. He won the race off pit road, was in 3rd position, and has fallen way down the order now, outside the top 10. And he is really dropping. He does not have the speed in that car right now. Certainly, maybe some adjustments need to be made to that vehicle right now. But he is, I bet, not happy behind that wheel. And same thing for Kevin Harvick, like you mentioned.
Christopher Bell as well, having a bit of a rough race so far, 17th place alongside Bubba Wallace. He was really having a rough season last season in our 2003. Briscoe Almirola here down towards the bottom teens and early 20s now, as you can see through the rest of the order. Keselowski not with a hot start to this race. Cindric, surprisingly, is able to outrun some cars even without a front bumper here. Cole Custer off the pace, and there you see the 45 of Kurt Busch, who's now scored a lap down. So I believe Kurt Busch, he was involved in that accident. Well, it looked like he had actually come into the pit lane, made some repairs, and that's one driver, Jay, so far this season. I don't remember Daytona, but Auto Club, we saw Kurt Busch barrel rolling. Las Vegas, we saw Kurt Busch a part of an accident as well. And here we are today, early on, and he's currently scored a lap down, and really no way out for him at this point. So his debut with this 2311 team here in NR 2003, so far in these first 4 races, has been miserable.
Yeah, not the start that Kurt Busch was looking forward with that brand new team of his, and obviously for him, certainly not the performance that he expects from himself either, I believe. So, first 3 races into the season, Kurt Busch not the spot that he wants to be in, but it's still very, very early on. Even though he's digging himself a little bit of a hole right now, he can certainly climb out of it. And there's a whole lot of time left in the regular season. You know, Gary, all it takes is 1 win, and he's in the playoffs. So for Kurt, all he has to do is just make sure he has that 1 good race in the regular season. He will be in the playoffs, but also as well, I think that he wants to just click off better finishes to also have that momentum and not just be constantly struggling every single week.
1 win is all it takes. As you see, Kyle Busch 3rd place, Tyler Reddick 4th, and then you got Truex 5th, and there is AJ Allmendinger again in the 16 car, the non-full-time car for driver points, but for owner points, of course, that number 16 is competing for. So, like we've mentioned before, if AJ Allmendinger or Daniel Hamrick or Noah Gragson picks up a win in that car, well, it doesn't matter for the playoffs. It will not guarantee anybody in to that here, but still, nonetheless, Jay, I think what's surprising is we've seen this 16 car week in, week out so far run better than the actual full-time driver, and that's Justin Haley, who right now finds himself outside of the top 10 as we continue to see the 16 run well inside the top 10.
Yeah, pretty much each week so far, we've seen AJ Allmendinger be a part of the conversation every single time, and so far, running pretty decent again here at Phoenix. Is in the outside lane right now, which is going to lose him some positions, but certainly for AJ Allmendinger, he's had a pretty good start compared to his teammate, but his teammate right now in Phoenix is not terribly far behind him, only a couple spots behind. Running just outside of the top 10 is Justin Haley, so he is in a position to make some moves here, but he's just got to click off those better finishes as well.
Alex Bowman there just in front of that number 16 in the now 11th position there as they're battling just in front for P9, P10 as Allmendinger drifts down to the 10th spot. And here comes Alex Bowman there, started up front, but now finds himself hunting for some stage points here with approaching 5 laps to go in this first and opening stage. Chase Elliott still leads over the number 24 of William Byron last season in our series. Byron only won 1 race. That was at Circuit of the Americas, one of the tracks where didn't really necessarily expect to see William Byron win. He was, of course, robbed a victory in Martinsville early in the season as well, but here he is stepping up to the plate as well as I see some smoke here down the back straight away.
A lot of skid marks as well.
Yes.
A lot of skid marks.
No caution. So I'm not sure what happened there. We'll have to take a look maybe a little bit later on, because you see the some skid marks there, but those were from Cole Custer on the outside, but I'm not sure what the other ones are from. So we'll have to take a look at the conclusion of this first and opening stage here as we do stay green coming to the final 3 laps here. Now, Jay, it's a duel between the 2 Hendrick teammates right here of Elliott and Byron, but what's caught me off by a bit of a surprise is we were talking about Kyle Larson kind of being the odd guy out at Hendrick. Well, right now Kyle Larson has rebounded and he is now battling up in here for 5th and 6th position. So clearly, I think that number 5 might have a car that's more suited towards a longer run, because as this run goes on, we're seeing that number 5 move his way forward.
I think all these Hendrick cars have a really good long run car, because even though Bowman has lost some spots, he's starting to come back as well. You see Larson coming back, and then obviously Chase Elliott and William Byron, they have pulled way out ahead of everybody else in this field. The closest one to them is Tyler Reddick, who's also starting to pull away from the field a little bit as well. So far, the Hendrick guys look like they have really good long run cars, and if we get a long run, I don't know if we're going to see them be beat today.
And it's going to be Elliott and Byron scrapping it out for the stage win here and now as we are approaching the final lap of stage 1. I mean, Jay, if you're William Byron, do you maybe try and force the issue a little bit on this number 9 of Elliott, or you just hang on for 2nd place and get those well-earned 9 points instead of risking it for an extra playoff point?
Yeah, I think you have to go for it a little bit, but don't be too aggressive for it if you're William Byron, because you know both of you have a good car right now, and certainly lots of time to still work on it in this race, and you don't want to wind up wrecking a good car for yourself or your teammates. So for William Byron, I think you might try it a little bit, but he's not going to do anything too aggressive in 3 and 4.
Elliott leads the way down the back straightaway towards turn 3 for the final time, and he is going to defend winning in Las Vegas by coming through 3 and 4 to win the first stage here in Phoenix. William Byron 2nd place, 9 points to him, but a playoff point to Chase Elliott. Reddick 3rd, Harvick has gotten up to 4th. 5th for Truex, 6th for Larson, and Justin Haley actually ends the stage in front of the 16, as we were talking about that earlier, as well as Kyle Busch and Alex Bowman round out the top 10. Hamlin drifted outside of the top 10 just as the stage was ending. Immediately, everybody heads into the pit lane. Jay, what I'm noticing so far here is there's a lot of parity throughout this run here. That was only a 30-lap stage, but we saw a lot of position swapping. It looks like the tire wear is really throwing a bit of a curveball at some of these drivers who are managing it the best, and we saw Kyle Busch, who was up in 2nd, while he drifted down to 9th, and Larson moved his way forward. I think this has got the potential to be one heck of a race if it goes for a long run.
Yeah, really interesting that Daniel Suarez is only out there for 6 laps and lost a ton of positions on those old tires. And Kyle Busch, he slipped down to 9th with those 2 tires as well. And it looks like there actually might have been some contact between Kyle Larson and Tyler Reddick. I saw some stuff sitting on pit road there, and I saw him kind of like slow as he went into his pit box. So I think there might have been contact between those two. But obviously, just 6 laps on the tires was enough to affect both Daniel Suarez and Kyle Busch. So I think 4 tires is going to be the call on pretty much every single pit stop today. And those 4 tire stops look like they're going to be really rough for some of these drivers, because Alex Bowman once again going to lose positions.
And there it is. Yes, Alex Bowman's been struggling a little bit here in the pit lane this season. Elliott wins the race out of the pit lane, though, as you see the rest of the field come through. So we are going to go for a quick break, and we'll be back to bring you to the start of Stage 2 as Chase Elliott is your Stage 1 winner here from Phoenix at the conclusion of 30 laps. Welcome back from Phoenix there, as we found the reason for that smoke on the back straightaway towards the end of Stage 1. Cole Custer dumps Austin Cindric down the back straightaway. Custer has been a bit of a menace here today, Jay. I mean, first of all, he causes an accident that wipes out Cindric, and then he dumps him a handful of laps later.
Yeah, and for Austin Cindric, that car, if it wasn't already slow, is certainly going to be slow now. A direct hit to the front end of that car without a bumper for Austin Cindric. Really, really rough day so far. And Cole Custer, like you mentioned, he's been a little bit of a menace so far in this race.
So now, getting ready to go back green flag racing here. Chase Elliott was on track here for a very strong performance so far, winning Stage 1, winning Las Vegas, and now we are ready for a restart, Jay, and we've seen with these restarts, even with the single file restarts, these guys are able to really get spread out 3-4 wide sometimes. So I don't know if you're safe anywhere. If you're Chase Elliott, you might be in the best position, but you got to hope that William Byron or Tyler Reddick's not going to sail it off into turn 1.
Yeah, 3 wide is certainly going to be a big factor on these restarts, and with them being single file, it may not be quite as large a one as we saw early on in the initial start of this race, but it's still going to take effect. It's certainly in the middle of the pack, and there's going to be cars everywhere trying to make moves all over the place on these restarts. If you're up towards the front, you're probably more comfortable than you are if you're in the middle of the pack right now, and so far, we're already seeing a whole lot of 2 wide moves being made. I don't think it's going to be too long before we see 3 wide somewhere in here.
Tyler Reddick's going to take second place from Byron Harvick's going to follow through as well into third place there, right on that quarter panel. The 8 is Kevin Harvick there on the exit of turn 2. They're going to be side by side. The closer, he used to be known as Kevin Harvick here, has been winless for over a year in real life now, obviously. Last season, Kevin Harvick in NR2003 up and down. He won the first 2 races, the Daytona 500, the Daytona Road Course, then went winless all the way to Talladega in the playoffs. He was already eliminated by that time, but won again there, and then start the season off strong. Jay, we're seeing a lot more consistent, I think, pace out of that Ford car there. I mean, last season he won the 2 races, and then it was miserable from that point on. Well, he won, obviously, race number 2 this season and has shown speed in every other race, and clearly we're seeing, again, that Ford car has brought some pace this season.
Yeah, I'm sure for Harvick, it was probably in the back of his mind a little bit there when he won at Auto Club, thinking maybe, oh no, I've won a race in the first 2 races again. Is it going to go downhill from there? But so far, it has not gone downhill for Kevin Harvick, and I think we're going to see him once again be competitive again this year, look to get back into the playoffs and actually survive through the first couple of rounds this time instead of getting eliminated right early on like he did last year. So for Kevin Harvick, he's already locked in. Now he needs to go and have the good performances and not lose that momentum like he did last year. And one thing we're seeing early on so far, again, Kyle Larson losing spots early on this restart, but we'll have to wait and see if he's going to be good on long run once again.
Definitely a trend there. He's now the worst Hendrick car once again to begin this second stage, as Alex Bowman was able to get in front of him. Now we'll see if it once again kind of sorts itself out to where Larson moves his way forward and maybe Bowman fades a little bit, but then Bowman was able to work his way back up right at the end of stage 1. So a lot of differences in these drivers managing their tire wear so far in this race, and overall a calm start to this second stage here, which comes to a close at the conclusion of lap 60. So already coming up on 20 laps remaining here in this second stage. Joey Logano up the inside of Kyle Larson. Jay Logano, he's had his ups and downs so far this season, won the Daytona 500. He doesn't have to worry for the rest of the year, but overall, I mean, other than California, he showed some speed there. Last week he was kind of absent from being in the mix for the majority of the racing. Clearly right now, finally seeing him up inside the top 10, but clearly maybe not just Joey Logano, but Penske Racing in general kind of seems to be struggling a little bit compared to these top teams right now and showing their pace.
We've certainly seen Hendrick pretty much all together be really good so far this season, and then all together kind of Penske be really rough so far. Like you mentioned, Joey Logano won the Daytona 500, but since then they've all been pretty much having rough races, and right now Joey Logano in 10th place, Ryan Blaney right behind him battling for 11th place with Denny Hamlin there, but Austin Cindric struggling again this week. The 21 is nowhere to be seen, so for Penske, they're off to a bit of a rough start, especially to where they want to be. But I think it'll be, once again, just a matter of time until they get things figured out and get to move forward. If they're all struggling as an organization, that means perhaps there's something there for them to find and fix together. And once they do, they'll be running really strong once again.
Bubba Wallace there side by side with Ross Chastain. That's a battle for 16th and 17th place, just behind Austin Dillon. Then you got Daniel Suarez in that Tootsie's number 99 Chevrolet Camaro. Christopher Bell rounds out the top 20. Not the start of the season Christopher Bell would like. It's pretty much right where he left off last season here now. And of course, Jay and I are working on the ratings throughout as we see everybody's performance here in these opening weeks of the Cup Series, so you can expect some rating changes here on the way in these coming races now and really throughout this whole season as we continue to see performance differences in real life, and we will try to replicate that to the best of our abilities here in NR2003. Here a little bit further down the order, you see Kurt Busch there in the background. He has still, of course, scored a lap down. Really not much Kurt Busch can do from this point on, and there you see Austin Cindric here. Jay, you can clearly see Cindric. He's in for a miserable race here now, and it looks like he could play a bit of a factor here, maybe in stage 2 before it comes to a close, but unlikely. But for sure stage 3, if that goes green, he could play a bit of a role in deciding how this race turns out with how slow that car is. But fortunately, we're at a short track, quote unquote, where it's not going to play too much of a role.
Yeah, he was certainly a little bit off the pace in stage 1, but this time around with that damage that's been given to him again by Cole Custer, he's certainly slower than he was before. And so, like you mentioned, not going to be a huge factor at a short track. It's going to be much harder for them to catch him just based on the fact that we're at a short track. And when they do, they should be able to navigate around him unless they wind up awkwardly being behind him on a restart or something like that. Because if they do that, then they could be in for a weird position when they go 3 wide on those initial restarts. But for Austin Cindric, not off to a great start so far on the NR side of things in our 2022 season. Just off to a really struggling start for him.
And Jay, I was just thinking about it as oh, Kyle Busch.
Oh, Kyle Busch.
Oh my goodness, I was just about to talk about Kyle Busch last week leading. And you know what? It jinxed him before the words even came out of my mouth. Damage to the left side of the 18. Will that be enough to impact him in terms of the performance? We're about to find out there. As it looked like contact, I think maybe it was with the 12 of Ryan Blaney. But I was just going to say, Jay, one thing we predicted spot on. Kyle Busch was in position to win this race last week in Las Vegas and lost out to Chase Elliott. Well, in real life, Kyle Busch was in position to win and lost out to a Hendrick Motorsports car. So there's certain things here we're kind of nailing with this series so far. I mean, we had the rivalry with Elliott and Larson nailed too.
Yeah, and we also had the Reddick struggles at Auto Club also in there as well. So we've had a lot of parity last season. We've had a lot of parity this season as well so far. And for Kyle Busch, maybe not what you want to see if you're a Kyle Busch fan. If things stick the way they've been going, perhaps that means Kyle Busch is in for some trouble tomorrow, but hopefully not. So far, that car looks like it's okay as well. Certainly some pretty heavy damage to the left side of that car, maybe even the right side as well. It looked like the right front fender might have been dinged up a little bit on that 18 car, but so far it looks like the performance is not affected too much for him.
Stage is over in about 10 laps time, so we'll take a look during the stage break at the contact right there that sent Kyle Busch into the inside wall, now holding off that number 5 of Kyle Larson, who finds himself down in 13th place. So far, not the run Kyle Larson would like to be having here from Phoenix Raceway, but we still have a lot of racing to go. Over 100 laps to go here, to be exact, from Phoenix here. Now is Kevin Harvick. He's putting that pressure on the back of Chase Elliott. Jane, we talked about it pre-race. This could be this next-gen car, and this combo with Phoenix could be Kevin Harvick's big opportunity to kind of take back over this track. And he's kind of lost his touch in the last few years here, but here he is here in our series, putting that pressure on the back of that 9 car. And I feel like it looks like he's got the speed to match that 9 car, maybe even beat him. He's just got to wait for that right opportunity to get up the inside, because it doesn't look like a pass will be coming anytime soon on that outside.
Yeah, and we saw in stage 1, the 9 and the 24 pulled away from everybody else. They were way far ahead by the end of that stage. Well, this is not the case this time around. Kevin Harvick is on Chase Elliott's rear bumper. The 24 is still up here, but he's in 3rd place. He's lost a little bit of ground to those two. And Tyler Reddick is on the rear bumper of the 24 as well, and not too far behind for Martin Truex Jr. and Alex Bowman as well. So they're not pulling out as far ahead this time around in stage 2, but still very, very strong for the Hendrick cars. Alex Bowman up here as well. Kyle Larson, sorry. Still looks like he's lost a little bit more ground and perhaps start making it back up like we saw him do in stage 1.
Yeah, he definitely was able to move his way forwards towards the end of the stage, but this time he's not really going anywhere, so maybe the wrong direction on the pit lane last time around for Kyle Larson. They'll be looking to make some changes here at the next set of pit stops here. Less than 10 laps to go in stage 1. Blaney scrapping it out with his Penske teammate of Joey Logano. Here comes Denny Hamlin, catches him a little bit off guard. He's going to make it 3 wide as they come through 1 and 2, and Hamlin's going to get 2 for 1 there and is able to pass the Penske duo. So that's the second car for Joe Gibbs Racing that has joined the top 10 there. Martin Truex Jr. currently the top JGR car in that 5th position. And then Reddick all on his lonesome there for Richard Childress Racing there in that 4th position. William Byron very, very strong in last week, Jay, in Las Vegas in this series. I remember we saw Byron was a force to be reckoned with in Las Vegas, and then unfortunately with a caution and lap cars and whatnot that sent him behind, he was still able to charge his way through the field, just not enough time to go and win that race. But clearly, I think another driver that has really shown up so far at the start of the season is William Byron. Although he made the playoffs with a win in COTA last season, he never really had the true pace to be up there with his Hendrick teammates like Elliott in the playoffs, Larson and whatnot. But here we are this season, and I think he's really come out showing right now he's the 2nd best Hendrick driver on the grid.
I think it just once again goes to show that how good Hendrick is this year, and all 4 of their drivers having really good beginnings to this season. And it's really surprising as well when you can sit here and say that Kyle Larson is the worst one of those cars, and he still right now is fighting for a top 10 position. And obviously for Kyle Larson, so far not the start that he wants to have, especially compared to the way he had or the whole entire year that he had last year. But still a lot of time for Larson to get this performance there, and he knows obviously his teammates are running well, so he knows that performance can be there. Just perhaps maybe some better adjustments need to be made to that car. And right now, Hendrick Motorsports, I mean, we've talked about it a lot. We're going to keep talking about it. They have looked really, really strong to start off this season. They look unbeatable right now.
A team that hasn't looked strong is RFK, Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing, currently running in the mid 20s, 26th, 27th for Keselowski and Chris Buescher up ahead. You see Eric Jones scrapping it out with Ross Chastain, the two Trackhouse drivers here, going at it in 19th and 20th, as you see Kyle Busch now putting the attack. So even with that damage he took, he's still got some speed in that Interstate Batteries Toyota Camry there, as he's going to be up the inside through the dog leg. This is the battle here, actually, for these closing spots inside the top 10. Blaney currently holding on to that final stage point. But coming up on the final lap of stage 2, and Chase Elliott, since he's taken the lead, has not looked back. Well, I'm sure he's looking back a lot because he's got a rear view mirror full of Kevin Harvick, but once again, like stage 1, I don't know if there's a lot Kevin Harvick could do here.
Yeah, Harvick is just kind of sitting there. He's been sitting there for the last handful of laps and not really been able to do much. He's obviously, I think, maybe a little bit quicker than Chase Elliott, but just not able to find the lane to get around him right here. So he's just going to have to kind of sit on the bottom and then hope he has a better pit stop when they come around to end the stage. Down in 3 and 4 for the final time in stage 2. Chase Elliott looks like it's going to get both stage victories today.
And that is going to be another playoff point for that Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet Camaro. Chase Elliott wins stage 2. Harvick second. Byron, Reddick, Truex, Bowman, Justin Haley, AJ Allmendinger, Denny Hamlin, and Ryan Blaney. Your top 10 for the points here. Now Logano, Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, all outside of the top 10. The first cars outside of the top 10 is immediately they head down into their pit boxes here, and we will see if Chase Elliott, I feel like, Jay, this race off the pit lane is going to be very, very important, because we clearly see that it is hard to pass the leader. They got the clean air, and if they just cover that bottom, it's nearly impossible to pass. So this could be one of the most important pit stops of the race, other than those green flag pit stops that we could potentially have coming here.
The outside lane has proven to really struggle so far in this race. So yeah, it's going to be really important to really use pit road as your area to gain positions. And we saw Chase Elliott kind of struggle with that in Auto Club, and last week it was better for him, and this time around he's going to have to hope it's better for him as well, because if not, Kevin Harvick is going to win the race off pit road and gain the lead that way. So it's going to be really close to watch the 9 and the 4 here, who also happen to coincidentally pit right next to each other.
It looks like the 9 got the left sides up way quicker, and it is not even going to be a contest here. Elliott is gone, and Harvick, oh, he's going to lose some ground there. Byron, Reddick, Truex, all going to be out in front of that 4 of Kevin Harvick. So not the pit stop he was looking for. Kyle Busch is going to spend a little bit of extra time on the pit lane there. Some repairs that need to be made for the left side of that 18. And Jay, you do not want to be Kyle Busch right now, because it has proven to be hard and tricky to make some passes. Now, of course, he still shouldn't struggle too much, but that is a top 10 car right there that's really in for a fight for the rest of this race.
Yeah, he's got a lot of work to do here in stage 3, and the laps are going to click off really quickly here at Phoenix. So he's got to make up these positions really quick here. And like you mentioned, it's going to be kind of hard to do that, because it seems like the only lane that can run really well is the inside lane.
And now Kyle Busch, of course, could be considered to be in a bit of that danger zone here. So we'll have to wait and see how it sorts out for him to start this third and final stage. We will be right back here from Phoenix Raceway. Chase Elliott wins stage 1 and 2, and we will be back and ready to go green for the start of this third and final stage. Now ready to go green for the start of this third and final stage here. I believe we forgot to do amped last week and maybe even the week before, but we're not going to forget today. To start this third and final stage, we are going to get amped here from Phoenix Raceway's Chase Elliott leads the way to the start of stage 3. Let's get amped from Phoenix. Chase Elliott continues to lead here from Phoenix Raceway over William Byron and Tyler Reddick, Truex Bowman. Harvick has fallen down the order there, and we saw Joey Logano get turned down the back straightaway into the inside. Well, not sure who that was, but we will get a look at that when we have the opportunity. But you see some left side damage, Jay, very similar from the looks of it to what happened to Kyle Busch. But you can see once again, although there's some left side damage, that car has still got some competitive speed as he's right on the back of that 14 of Chase Briscoe, although just outside that top 10.
Yeah, Kyle Busch and Logano both have been lucky so far that the damage they received still allowed their cars to be competitive. And for Joey Logano, gonna have to repair that thing when they come down pit road, and hopefully for him, it's not under green conditions, because if it is, he's gonna wind up losing potentially a lap. Having to repair that car is just going to take a while to repair it, but right now, obviously, still competitive, fighting with Chase Briscoe there, just outside the top 10.
And he will take that 11th position as they come through 3 and 4. Kyle Larson, he's going to try and follow through and try to move up into 12th place, but just not the day so far that Kyle Larson would prefer to be having here in Phoenix. Last time we came here in real life, well, Kyle Larson, he won the race and the championship, but in our NR2003 series last time we came to this track, well, Kyle Larson lost a championship here at Phoenix Raceway to Eric Almirola in that number 10 car in his final season. Now this is in the NASCAR Cup Series there. And Jay, not what we expected to see is Kevin Harvick, who was putting on so much pressure to Chase Elliott at the end of stage 2. Well, he just dropped another position down into 9th place he goes, and now AJ Allmendinger, is up the inside of him, and that's going to shuffle Harvick to the very bottom of the top 10. Not what I don't think we expected to see, but clearly whatever they did on the pit stop might not have been the right move for that number 4 car.
Well, we know that the outside lane is a huge disadvantage, and we've seen Harvick be in the outside lane a couple of times so far, and that's where he's lost, I think, a good bit of these positions. So for him, he's got to get it gathered back up and try and find a way to gain those positions back that he just lost. But again, it's going to be really tough to pass, I think, here again at Phoenix, because that inside lane is the dominant lane, and if you can't find a way to shuffle somebody out of that lane, you're never going to get around them.
Chase Elliott continues to be out front over William Byron. And there you got Truex, who's closed in on the battle. Truex always strong when it comes to Phoenix Raceway, showing that again, flexing that Joe Gibbs Racing power here. And then you got Justin Haley and colleagues, first full-time season in the Cup Series, now up into the 5th position here. That team has had speed, but they certainly haven't had the positions at the end of the day to show for the speed they've had in this series. But here they are right now, less than 100 laps to go, running inside of the top 5. Alex Bowman in 6th place there. J.O. was a little bit concerned with that 48 earlier in the race. You know, we talked about how sometimes they've had speed at the starts, and then they've just continued to fall down the order as the race went on. Well, we saw Bowman, of course, start right at the front and quickly fall, actually right outside the top 10, but now has rallied his way back up into a very strong 6th place position currently here. So that 48 right now proving that maybe this season might have been the season they needed to get this thing turned around in this NR2003 series, because they are having a phenomenal run here today in Phoenix.
Yeah, this is their first, I think, official true good run of the season, because last week at Vegas, he was fast once again, and I believe he got caught up in the big wreck again. So for Alex Bowman, we were talking about how they would come up, or they would show up with speed last year, and they would always have something go wrong, whether it be they would just fall off or they would get involved in a wreck. And same thing going to happen last week, but so far this week, doing a really nice job rebounding, gaining some of those positions back, and slowly making up ground on his teammates. His 2 teammates in front of him, but his other teammate, Kyle Larson, is still kind of struggling down around just outside the top 10, and this time around, he's a little bit, I think, the lowest he's been in the running order so far in this race, and continuing, he's not really gained any positions back.
Larson currently 12th place. Denny Hamlin looks up the inside of Ryan Blaney on the exit of turn 2. Not quite able to make anything happen right there. You see a lot of pressure on the back of the 12, and the 12 is putting pressure on the back of the 48, but Hamlin trying to maneuver his way into that 7th position alongside the Penske. Driver caution is out on the circuit here in Phoenix Raceway, and it looks like it might be for that car right there, the 66 of Timmy Hill off the pace. That would be my guess. We'll, of course, find out here momentarily, as it looks like it's on the back straightaway again, and oh my god, the pace car! The pace car crashed! The pace car! Oh, this is going to be a mess. This is going to be an interesting scenario where we see cars...
Never!
Have you ever, Jay?
No, I have never. What in the...
What happens now? I don't even know.
Yeah. How?
Well, we saw a couple cars stay out on the track, by the way. That was Chase Elliott and I believe the 24 of William Byron. But the pace car is in the wall. and we're not sure how they plan to get it out of said wall. This could be a bit of a predicament for the remainder of this race, as Chase Elliott and William Byron, they're just cruising around the circuit right now, and all these guys got to go back around here and whatnot. And I think that the best way to solve this is for Jay and I to go take a look at this accident that brought out the caution, and hope that when we come back, that pace car is not sitting inside the wall. But I mean, we'll of course have a replay of the pace car, but let's go take a look at what in the world has just happened here in Phoenix. And at this point, I have no idea what is going to happen. Here's a look at the reason we're under caution here. Timmy Hill, he's going to actually find himself 3 wide on the exit of turn 2. Keselowski's going to get into his left rear, turn him around down the back straightaway. Caution comes out, multiple cars involved. And Jay, we've seen it time and time again on that exit of turn 2. A lot of drivers have gotten turned today.
Yeah, that's been the corner that's caused a lot of issues so far, and continuing to happen every single time. And it seems like if you are near someone's quarter panel or 3 wide off of that corner, it's going to put you in a really tough position. And I mean, you can look right here, everything just turns to chaos right here.
Larson, everybody pretty much. And let's go take a look at the pace car and what just occurred with the pace car under caution here in Phoenix as well. So here's a look at the pace car, who is hauling the mail into 1 and 2, and well, you're gonna see it right here, just right hook directly into the wall. Jay, as we were literally just saying, we've seen a lot of things on NR2003, but this might take the top cake, or whatever, the icing on the cake here for the things we've seen occur in this series.
Yeah, there's been a lot of things, a lot of wacky things we've seen over the course of doing a full season, and now a couple races into our second season. This is something I didn't ever expect to see, and I honestly don't know how we move on from it. I don't know how this is going to work for the rest of this race if the car is stuck there, but the pace car driver done goofed.
Due to the pace car being stuck in the wall, for the first time ever in the NR2003 series, we are going to have to go under red flag conditions. A whole bunch of chaos in the pit lane and whatnot. NASCAR has to go sort out the running order. And we will be right back here once everything is sorted out here on lap 84 of 156 from Phoenix Raceway. Welcome back from Phoenix Raceway after... I don't even know what to say. The pace car stuck in the wall. Well, the pace car has been retrieved. We got a new pace car. And we are going to be back here. After everything got sorted out, some drivers were able to get some laps back. The 2 car was able to get a new front bumper. Chase Elliott goes from the lead to 3rd. Byron stays 2nd. And Reddick was actually able to leapfrog to the front, or sorry, Byron to the lead and Reddick to 2nd. So Byron goes up, Reddick goes up, and Elliott goes down a few spots as well. After all the confusion, NASCAR sorted it out, and this is what we are presented with for now. What's going to be just a 78-lap dash to the end of this race. A bit of a mess, Jay, but I can tell you right now, obviously, none of us expected in our lifetime to see the pace car go crash head-on into the wall.
There's a lot of things that I expect from NR 2003. The pace car doing that is not what I expect at all, but luckily we're able to get it cleaned up. We were able to get this race restarted now with 78 laps to go, and I mean, the pace car going into the wall like that created an interesting situation where we are now going to be in a 78-lap dash to the end of this race.
1 pit stop's all it's going to take, but you see, we were able to get another double file restart, which could present its own challenges here. Now, Chase Elliott, he's hungry to get back up into the lead position, but Ryan Blaney, he was able to capitalize with that red flag and with that caution. And in the background, Kevin Harvick's going to go around. Truex involved as well, and that's going to be a big accident, a violent accident in the background. Kevin Harvick, Timmy Hill involved again for the 2nd caution in a row. Harvick, big impacts there. The composite bodies, you can see the damage, his limitation is quite severe, and we got crashes under caution. Michael McDowell just dumped his teammate under yellow, and that's the 38 of Tom Gilliland. The caution is out, and pace car, we beg, do not hit the pit wall once again. It looks like they're going to be okay. Jay, like I said, that was going to be a wild restart. They were double filed. They had a chance to go get everything they could, and boy, did they live up to it.
Yeah, and it turned into a really big crash there. And for Kevin Harvick, I'm actually surprised that he's able to still keep that car rolling. It didn't look too bad from the moment that we saw, and then obviously they continue under caution, and something happens between teammates of Michael McDowell and Todd Gilliland that winds up with the 38 spun. Luckily, didn't come back up the track too much and get anybody else involved. But my goodness, they knew that this race is only 78 laps now, and they had to go for everything. And I mean, you saw it there. They went for everything on the initial restart again after the red flag, and caused a really big crash and took out a really good car in Kevin Harvick as well.
William Byron scored the leader. Let's go take a look. Cole Custer is officially out of this race. What a miserable race it has been for him. A part of the first two accidents and now in another one, and officially is out here. So let's go take a look at the first accident after the red flag here from Phoenix Raceway. A look at what has brought out this caution here. Kevin Harvick's going to have some contact with Alex Bowman there. Jay, once again, same situation. We see a lot of drivers get turned right there, and Harvick's just along for the ride for a violent accident.
Yeah, and Harvick had obviously nothing he could do there and slides back up the track. Gets hit by his teammate, goes up and over, and it gets a lot of other cars involved in that as well. A lot of cars with damage, and here's the incident here. The 34 just comes up and turns the 38, and for Todd Gilliland, luckily he didn't slide back up track and hit anybody else or get hit. And so luckily that one didn't turn into much of anything at all. But a lot of cars with a lot of damage there, and I saw Timmy Hill was smoking. Looks like he's going to be DNF'd for the day, unfortunately, already on this restart. And I mean, just you were talking about briefly how the two wide restart could provide for some insanity. Well, it certainly did, and it did not take long at all for us to get a big crash.
So now ready to go green once again from Phoenix Raceway here. Now just over 70 laps remain in this race. William Byron, Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch has rebounded from earlier incidents there with the damage and the chaos under the red flag to rebound into third place. So Jay, I think Kyle Busch might be the biggest winner of this whole red flag scenario and all the chaos that has ensued here on the start since this red flag, because now he's back up into P3 in a car that looks still competitive enough to compete for this race victory.
And Joey Logano as well. He had that damage and was going to have to get it fixed under possible green flag pit stops, and was able to get it fixed under the red flag and under that caution there and keep the position as well. So for Joey Logano, he moved up, or he was able to keep his positions, and Ryan Blaney as well. We were talking early on in this race about Penske struggling. Well, we got Ryan Blaney and Joey Logano inside the top 5 now, and both of them look pretty decent ever since this restart.
William Byron out in front over Chase Elliott here down into turn 1. Chase Elliott, of course, not going to be a huge fan with how the whole red flag scenario played out, losing him actually the lead of this race, and we know how hard it is to pass right now the leader. So Elliott might be the biggest loser out of that one. Jay, I mean, he's won last week. He got a couple playoff points here today, but still, I mean, clearly he's proven he's got a car that can hold on when he's out in front, but now he's on the attack and has to find a way around that number 24 of William Byron. But we still know that we at least have another pit stop on the way that could play a bit of an opportunity for Elliott to get himself back out in front.
We've seen the 9 and the 24 so far be the two dominant cars of this race. They pulled away from everybody early on in stage 1. In stage 2, Chase Elliott still won the stage. William Byron stayed in third place. So far, these two have dominated this race, and right now the positions are flipped. William Byron is now leading laps, but once again, Hendrick Motorsports in the lead of this race. They got the top 2 cars, and then Alex Bowman, Kyle Larson, they're actually kind of struggling a little bit more than they have this entire race, especially Alex Bowman. He was up inside the top 5, or at least around the top 5. Now finds himself outside the top 10, and same thing for Kyle Larson. Both of those guys need to try and find the success that their teammates are having right now.
Eric Jones up inside the top 10, having a nice run here now in Phoenix. He struggled quite a bit earlier in this race. And now as you see Christopher Bell, another driver that has had a nice rebound up into 14th or 13th place now in front of Bubba Wallace. Kurt Busch, who's gotten back on the lead lap here after the whole red flag and chaos, well, he's right there on the back of that 23 of Bubba Wallace. So Jay, you know, we had no idea. We said it was going to be impossible for Kurt Busch to get back in this race, but you know what? Expect the unexpected at this point when a pace car goes head on into the pit wall, and that has allowed that 45 to get back into the mix.
Yeah, it's allowed him to get really back into this race, and he was struggling early on in this race, and so for Kurt Busch, he's able to get everything fixed, able to get back on the lead lap, and right now running just behind his teammate, the 223.11 cars, running pretty decent in this race compared to where they were earlier on. Now trying to fight for a top 15 and maybe a top 10 if they're able to get some adjustments made to those cars, or just have better long run speed. So both of those cars looking much better than they were early on in this race.
Now that things are kind of calm here from Phoenix for the first time in what feels like all day long now at this point after everything that's happened, we're going to go for a quick break here from Phoenix, and we'll come back to bring you to the end for these final 50 or so laps here from Phoenix Raceway. We'll be right back as Chase Elliott continues to try and hunt down and pass his teammate of William Byron. back from Phoenix Raceway. Just over 50 laps remain here as Chase Elliott continues to try and find a way around his teammate William Byron, but can't quite find that opportunity yet. But Jay, what could be a bit of an opportunity for that 9 of Chase Elliott as well? They got that number 4 car of Kevin Harvick, who went up and over earlier as well off the pace, and the AI lap cars don't play too much of a factor here. But I mean, if William Byron chooses the wrong spot to go still, that could be an opportunity for Elliott to pounce on him and maybe get around him that way. Other than, I think that's his only alternative, other than focusing on that green flag pit stop, which is coming in about 15 laps.
Yeah, Kevin Harvick is certainly going to run the inside lane, and we know the outside lane is not as dominant at all at this racetrack at all. You need to be on the inside lane, so perhaps William Byron might struggle a little bit going to the outside lane to get around Kevin Harvick. Not too sure. We'll have to wait and see, but it could be an opportunity for Chase Elliott to pounce. Maybe even Kyle Busch as well, who's just kind of stalking those two right now. So William Byron is going to have to find a way around this 4-car Kevin Harvick, who is pretty considerably off the pace. It's not going to be too long before they catch him.
And here they come down this back straightaway towards turn 3. It should be within another lap or so that these guys will run down that number 4 of Kevin Harvick here. Now Elliott right on that back bumper, just about here within a car length and a half of William Byron in that Exalta Chevrolet Camaro, looking for his first win of the season here in Phoenix. But Elliott, we know he has the speed to win this race and lead this race, of course, now as we're going to head down this back stretch one more time. This is where we're going to find out what happens here with the 24 and the 4, and it looks like the 4 is going to cover off that 24. And Jay, if you're Chase Elliott, this is a golden opportunity to maybe jump up to the top, but no, it's not going to work out.
I thought for a moment that Byron was going to have Harvick in the inside lane in 3 and 4, but was able to get it done on the front straightaway using that dog leg a little bit to his advantage. Kevin Harvick does go up to the highest side and gets out of the way for those two. Gets out of the way momentarily for Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch might actually, we might see the issue happen.
Boy.
Got close, but it didn't. Still close between those two. But for Kevin Harvick, he's doing a pretty decent job of staying out of the way and not really causing much of an issue at all for anybody here. A little bit close between him and Kyle Busch, but running the high line, not getting in anyone's way. He knows how to move out of the way. Thank you, Kevin Harvick.
And I mean, don't forget though, there's more cars that are going to be coming through to pass him in turn 2, like that 8 here of Tyler Reddick. So they got to be a little bit careful with that number 4 and make sure they don't get into his left rear quarter panel. They're able to keep it clean there as they head down this back straightaway. AJ Allmendinger, a little bit of pressure to the inside of Denny Hamlin, trying to take that 4th position. Elliott continues to fight with that 24. Kyle Busch in 3rd place. Some bad luck earlier in this race, but right now in a good position. Kyle Busch is heading into these final pit stops of the day. It does. I mean, you look at it right now, it's about 6.5 tenths of a second last time around. And now, I mean, you can visibly see, Jay, that, yeah, I think that 18's closing the gap. But, I mean, closing the gap's one thing, and passing here clearly seems like that's going to be the next objective that's going to be very tough to accomplish for that 18 car. As he barely gained anything right there, but he did still gain something.
Yeah, and if they make it to green flag pit stops, I think if you're the 18 or the 9, you might consider coming a lap or 2 early over William Byron, just so that way that you can try and maybe undercut William Byron a little bit. But also you're looking at the laps left. When we restarted, there was 78 laps to go. You can make it about 80 laps a run. So actually perhaps maybe you can't come in too early, because if you do, you may not make it to the end of this race. It's going to be really, really close on with this one pit stop. You're going to be just a couple laps away from running out of fuel. So maybe you can't go in early here.
Kyle Larson, for the first time, and I think since stage 1, has re-entered the top 10, and now Eric Jones is under pressure from the 20 of Christopher Bell, who's having a nice rebound here today, trying to take the 11th position away. And Alex Bowman, well, he is trying to work his way back towards that top 10 as well here now. And you see that gap actually starting to open back up here between these first 2 drivers and Kyle Busch there, as William Byron continues to hang on. And great point from Jay. I mean, if you pit a little bit early, you're at risk of not making it on fuel here. So I would expect to see anywhere between lap 40, 42, and this run when drivers make their way into the pit lane. And Jay, I mean, if Byron, I think as soon as you get to lap 40, if you're Chase Elliott, you want to hit that pit lane. And if Byron stays out, there is a huge opportunity for that9 car, because we know for a fact in this situation right here, that 1 lap difference will absolutely allow that 9 car to probably take the lead, unless he has some issues, of course, on his pit stop.
Yeah, as soon as the crew chief sees that you are going to be good to make it to the end, you got to hit pit road that lap, because you want to try and be the first one on pit lane and try and do a little bit of an undercut here, and also make sure that you can make it to the end of this race as well. So I think that we'll see at least a couple of cars pit on lap 40, if not pretty much everybody, because that's going to be when you are guaranteed to make it to the end of this race. Maybe lap 37 or 38 if you really want to chance it. Excuse me, of running out with a lap or 2 to go and cross the line on fumes, but I think that you really lap 40 is where we're going to see the majority of people start to pit.
So you continue to see William Byron lead the way down into turns 3 and 4 over Chase Elliott. Pit stops coming here in just a few moments' time now onto lap 40 of this run. So therefore, these drivers should be able to make it from this point on if they decide to come into the pit lane. So Jay, if you're Chase Elliott, would you expect to maybe see him here on the pit lane any moment?
I would certainly think so. You need to come down pit road, and that might have been his opportunity right there. That might have been a lot of these drivers' opportunity right there to pit and make it to the end of this race, but they're not going to do so. So really interesting to see everybody deciding to stay out. And if you're Chase Elliott, you cannot wait until the 24 pits. You have to pit early. You see Greg Biffle coming to pit road, couple of cars coming to pit road here, but these are guys towards the back of this pack right now, not really going to make any big difference for those guys. But the big thing to watch here is when Chase Elliott, and it looks like the 24 is actually going to pit this time potentially. Yes, he is. So for Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch coming with him at least, but for Chase Elliott, he's actually going to stay out a lap. So I guess perhaps gambling maybe that a caution is going to come out, but I think that's a huge mistake for everybody to not come down pit road before the leader.
I absolutely agree with that now, as we expect to see Elliott probably in next time around, but I don't see how this strategy works for him. I think Chase Elliott's going to be at risk of losing now second place, as you can see right here. He's definitely preparing to make his pit stop, and Blaney and Hamlin as well, and Logano, they're going to go even longer, Jay. I think that's, I thought Elliott and them staying out an extra lap was a bad call, but clearly Hamlin and Logano, I don't see any way of that working out for those drivers. Jay must not be there. Jay is currently absent there.
My bad.
There he is.
I was just going to say it's a big mistake to stay out any longer than they are. And I think it's just a big mistake to not pit before the leader anyways. You can make it on lap 40, and for Chase Elliott, that's his best opportunity. He decided to stay out an extra lap, and I think that's really going to lose him more time than anything. And certainly did not get the caution that they perhaps are hoping for. I don't really know.
And that's the battle right there for the lead, but it's going to favor William Byron here as they exit turn 2. Kyle Busch was way wide. If he could have got to the inside, that could have been huge for that number 24 of William Byron. You see they're already going to be passing the 11 and the 22, and Chase Elliott now is just getting rolling there in that number 9, and here comes William Byron already crossing the line. Elliott speeds up, but it's not going to be enough. He's going to lose second at least, and as well, he will lose the 3rd position here in Phoenix, and a little bit close quarters right there with the 31 of Justin Haley. The colleague cars here are going to be sandwiched here around that number 9 of Chase Elliott as they head down into turn 3. So now Jay Elliott with a costly mistake if he wants to go to victory lane 2 weeks in a row. He did win 2 stages at least, so not a failure of a day, but it's what could have been. But if you're Kyle Busch now, what is the strategy if you're going to have any opportunity to pass that number 24?
I don't really know. It seems like so far we've seen people be able to stay with William Byron, but not able to get around him. And for Kyle Busch, we saw him really strong at the end of the first run. Daniel Suarez taking some extra time on pit road. Ryan Blaney also coming back down pit road.
Pitting from the lead, actually.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Never mind. He hadn't pitted yet. So for Ryan Blaney, that's an even bigger mistake. He was running inside the top 5. We were talking about Penske struggling. He stayed out several extra laps, and for Ryan Blaney, that's going to lose him a lot of positions and a lot of time on track. But for Kyle Busch right now, we saw him, as I was mentioning, he was strong on that long run, was starting to catch the 2 leaders in front of him. Then they had to pit, and now he finds himself in second place. Got Justin Haley kind of right on the rear bumper of his car, so he's going to have to try and find a way to fend off Justin Haley and also make a run at William Byron.
And Chase Elliott lost the position right there to the 16 of A.J. Allmendinger. So another spot lost from that 9 car. Here comes the 12 of Ryan Blaney, who's not going to be as bad as I expected there. He's still going to be in the top 10. So, Jay, he's going to have quite a bit fresher tires than everybody right here in front of him. Maybe not the worst call for Blaney, who was not in a position to compete for the race victory in his current situation. Maybe right here with these tires, this could allow him to maybe go and try and run down top 5 down, but he is still approximately 4 seconds behind that main group of cars. So that's going to be a very tough task for that number 12 car.
And we did see early on in this race when the drivers had that early caution and some decided to stay out. We had Suarez stay out on old tires and Kyle Busch decided to pit for 2 tires. That was only 6 laps. And towards the end of the run, both Kyle Busch and Suarez really fell off and lost a lot of positions and a lot of time. So maybe for Ryan Blaney, that was enough laps for him to gain some time towards the end of this run. But he's going to have to hope that it stays green the entire time and hope that he's able to gain enough time in quick order here, because these laps are going to click off really fast here at Phoenix. It's not going to take a long time at all to finish this race.
30 laps to go from Phoenix Raceway this time by. We're going to go for one final break here from Phoenix real quick, and we will be back to bring you to the end of this race here in what's been a wild and just crazy race with pace car chaos, red flags, and pit strategy as well. We'll be back here from Phoenix Raceway. Back from Phoenix Raceway. While we were gone, the leaders were able to work their way through Kevin Harvick one more time, maybe one final time. And just as we come back, AJ Allmendinger makes a pass on his colleague, teammate of Justin Haley, and he's going to bring Chase Elliott along with him. Now is Kyle Busch. He's all over the back of William Byron, but Jay, the common trend is he can get there, but he just cannot find a way around that 24. You got to get to that inside if you're going to make anything happen, and so far, no one has been able to really make a pass for the lead other than right on the opening couple of laps of a restart, and we're seeing that trend once again. And now 18 laps remain in this race. I mean, it's been one of those races where I'll say, you know, expect the unexpected. I don't think this 24 is in the clear by any means, but it is going to take a lot for someone to beat that 24 here today.
Yeah, we saw the 18 get the closest we've seen him to the 24 last lap, and then they made a mistake. 3 and 4 lost a lot of ground. Now he's having to make that ground back up. And just ahead, you're seeing a couple of lap cars in the way, the 62 and the 17 up there as well. I think the 17 didn't have a front end, so those two could potentially play a factor before the end of this race. But as we've seen with Kevin Harvick so far, the lap cars don't provide too much of a challenge. You just got to hope you catch them at the right time, and so far they've done that with Kevin Harvick. Now they're going to have to do the same thing with the 62 and the 17.
Logano rounds out the top 10. Alex Bowman currently down in 11th place, looking to get himself back into the top 10 before this race comes to a close here. Byron closing in on Gregson and Buescher. Those are the two cars we've got to watch, and I think if Byron can just get through those two cars, he'll be sitting sail from that point on here. But of course, it's not going to be no easy task, but so far it has been an easy task for the leader to get through lap traffic here today. William Byron, what a performance he has put on. Now, Jay, I'm not going to go and jinx William Byron, but he won one race last season in NR2003, but it wasn't really a race where he went and dominated. He just kind of got into the win. But at Martinsville last season, he was in position to win, led a lot of laps in the final stage, kind of like what we're seeing here. And, well, a caution came out, took his chances to win away, and he finished, I think, 3rd or 4th in that race. So, I mean, if we go by the one trend we have with William Byron leading in the closing laps, I don't know. This thing might not be over yet, and Kyle Busch might be in an opportunity to win, especially, you know, last week came up just short in Las Vegas here in this NR2003 series. We know how badly he wants to finally get his first win in this series.
There's 4 drivers sitting behind William Byron right now that all want to take any opportunity they can to get past that 24. The 18's been really strong. AJ Allmendinger suddenly in this long run has gotten a lot stronger. Chase Elliott, who was strong early on in this race, led a lot of laps, now sitting in that 4th position, trying to make his way back up to the front as well. So, and I mean, Justin Haley as well, been really strong. Both colleague cars really strong. He's starting to lose a little bit of pace, but William Byron now, this is potentially the first opportunity for some others. He's got to get past Noah Gragson, who does have better speed than Kevin Harvick does, but he is a lap car, going to be in the way currently off turn 2. Not at him just yet, but maybe through 3 and 4 on the front straightaway, we'll see William Byron catch that 62. Goes to at least show his nose there in 3 and 4, but again, not close enough. Chase Elliott also making a move on Allmendinger for 4th place or for 3rd place.
That could be a crucial move for that 9 of Chase Elliott to get himself into the mix here. Now Byron's still behind that 62, but looks up the inside into turn 1. Kyle Busch very close here. It gives him an opportunity, but it's not going to be enough here as they come through the center of 1 out of turn 2. Byron gets through the first 62 car, and he's got the 17 to go through, and we should not get to this group of cars before this race comes to a close. So Kyle Busch, Jay, I mean, has to realize now, I think that 17 car is going to be his last opportunity to go and try and steal this win.
Yeah, and for Kyle Busch, he's been able to at least follow through William Byron every time, so he hasn't lost a lot of positions. But unfortunately, unfortunately for him, William Byron has also found his way to the lap cars. So Kyle Busch is going to really need the 17 to make the 24 struggle here, and that's going to be his best opportunity to make a move happen. But Chase Elliott, don't look too far as well. He's now into 3rd place. He's right on the rear bumper of Kyle Busch. He wants to get back into 2nd place, go challenge his teammate, and get a 2nd win in a row for Chase Elliott as well. So right now, these top 3, they're all hungry for it, and all 3 of them want to get a win really, really badly, and that 17 is in the way right now.
10 laps to go, coming to 9 laps to go here from Phoenix Raceway. AJ Allmendinger completes the pass on that 31 of Haley in the background here. Byron closing in right here on that 17 of Buescher. This is going to be the last opportunity for Kyle Busch if he really wants to be able to make a move here without assistance now as he comes through the tri-oval, or the dogleg, sorry, now. And Byron, if he can just look up the inside, it should be okay. And yes, Byron's going to get there, and that really might be game over, Jay, for Kyle Busch.
Now, don't hold on now, because the 17. Okay, I thought Kyle Busch was going to be able to awkwardly catch the 17 off of turn two and put him in a position where we've seen the wrecks happen before, but not that time. It did not happen. Kyle Busch able to get to the inside in 3 and 4, and now he's got his work cut out for him because there's no more lap car in the way, and he's also lost a little bit of time here as well. So for Kyle Busch, he's really got to get moving if he wants to put any kind of move on William Byron. But we've seen so far this entire time, second place has not been able to find anywhere to make a move on the leader, and Chase Elliott, he's also actually looking to make a move on Kyle Busch.
Does Elliott have enough here in these closing 10 laps? 3 wide in the background. Actually, you got Larson going at it with Hamlin as well as Tyler Reddick. They now go back to just 2 wide racing here. But watch out between these guys now. If a caution comes out now, we still have enough time to rack it up and have another restart to end this race. So we're not in that zone yet where if a caution comes out, the race comes to a close. We've got a couple of more laps where that can happen here. Now, as you see, Larson trying to move his way forward towards the top 5 position. He will get clear just about a Tyler Reddick. Yes, he is on the exit of turn 2. Reddick's going to fight back a little bit side by side, but this is the battle for 7th place here. But through 3 and 4, it's going to swing towards Kyle Larson now, but Reddick continues to try and fight hard, but Kyle Larson takes the position back up front. There you see Byron, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott. What a performance, Jay, by William Byron to snag the lead, of course, through the whole red flag mess. And I'm sure Chase Elliott still can't be too happy with how that played out for him now as he still finds himself in P3. Really just not able to rebound from losing that lead this whole way through this final stage.
Yeah, we've pretty much seen Chase Elliott have to try and regain ground again ever since that red flag has happened. And he went from leading to not leading anymore and trying to fight his teammate for the lead, and then just wound up not pitting at the right time as well, and lost a couple positions. Now fought his way back up to 3rd place, trying to hold off AJ Allmendinger while also going at Kyle Busch at the same time. So this is still not over with for a whole lot of these positions in the top 5 and the top 10 as well. There's a lot of people close to each other on track right now trying to make moves. But I mean, just William Byron done a fantastic job since this race restarted. Got the lead under pit stops and has not given it up since then. Done a really nice job so far and pretty much dominated this entire 3rd stage.
Coming to 3 laps to go. It's going to need to be a big slip up from William Byron at this point. We haven't seen any yet now as he heads down this back straightaway for these final 3 laps about to get underway. Kyle Busch, 2nd place. He's been hovering around in 2nd place for the majority of this final stage. Chase Elliott is still P3. Allmendinger and his colleague teammate of Justin Haley there in 4th as well as 5th place. There is in the background you see Hamlin, Blaney as well as Kyle Larson here towards the bottom half of the top 10, and Logano currently the last spot inside the top 10. Bowman having a decent day in P11 now. As you can see, Elliott, he's putting pressure on that 18 to Kyle Busch, but it's not going to be enough, and the 18 of course just has no way of passing that 24 of William Byron. 3 now, 2 laps to go in this race. Jay, is there anything you think Kyle Busch can do at this point, or is it just hang on to a 2nd place finish?
Yeah, I don't think there is anything Kyle Busch can do. It needs to be right on that rear bumper of William Byron and coming around to grab the white flag this time. He's not anywhere near that right now, and that's the only way he's going to have any kind of opportunity to make a move right here. I don't know if anybody in the top 5 right now has an opportunity to make a move, but William Byron did a great job in this 3rd stage. Grabs the white flag for him, looking like he's 1 lap away from getting his first victory of the season and locking himself in the playoffs.
Daytona 500 was won by Penske and a Ford. Auto Club was Stuart Haas Racing, another Ford with Kevin Harvick. Last week, Chase Elliott for Hendrick Motorsports, and now this week it's William Byron leading the way down the back straightaway into turns 3 and 4 for the final time, and he is sure enough going to come through to hang on to get his first win of the season here in Phoenix and lock himself into the playoffs after a wild race here from Phoenix Raceway. We saw it all today, cars up and over, pace cars crashing into the pit lane wall as well, and just chaos on restarts as William Byron survives it all to win from Phoenix Raceway. Joey Logano rounds out the top 10 here as we will look through the finishing order, Jay. But I think this is certainly the biggest curveball race we've had so far this year, as we had no idea what to expect with the pace car and the wall and whatnot, and obviously it led to a big accident on the following restart. We had accident coming into the pit lane with the pace car incident. This race really did present and threw as many curveballs, I think, as it could possibly throw at us.
And what we saw was the leader, whoever was leading, it was very tough for anybody to pass them. And under that red flag, William Byron was able to grab the lead by pitting and getting out ahead of Chase Elliott, and obviously never relinquished the lead from then, except for when he decided to pit. So William Byron did a fantastic job there. Hendrick Motorsports did a fantastic job overall. The worst finisher was Alex Bowman in 11th place, which for Bowman, even though 11th place is not bad, I'd say that's perhaps a little bit disappointing for him because he was running top five early on in this race through both stage one and stage two. Early on in stage three, he was running pretty good as well, and then just didn't have the long run speed and wound up falling out of the top 10. So for Alex Bowman, 11th place from last year, not bad at all. Pretty good finish, but for this year, certainly he wants to have a lot better than 11th place. And you can see his teammates running really well. Both of them, or two of them, have wins already this season. So for Alex Bowman, he's going to look to be a lot better than 11th place.
And there you see the rest of the finishing order on your screen there. After just what a race it was here in Phoenix. Now next week, Jay, I think our first curveball of the season that we have no idea how it's going to go, and that is the brand new Atlanta Motor Speedway. We know completely reconfigured racetrack and whatnot, and it's going to produce some pack racing as expected at least. And we've done some testing ourselves with this next gen mod. I think that's going to be the first opportunity other than Daytona to have a lot of chaos, big accidents, and maybe a curveball winner there that's usually not up in the mix that could really throw a spinner in the works here and surprise getting the playoffs.
Yeah, I think next week in Atlanta is going to be perhaps more about survivability than Talladega or Daytona. That race, I think, is going to be extremely wild. The track is wide, but it's also it narrows up in the corners, and then obviously the high banking is going to provide for a pretty good pack race. And so I think at Atlanta, you're going to have to really just try and survive that race more than anything. And if you're there towards the end of it, you can certainly make a run to the front like you can at the other plate tracks as well. So Atlanta next week going to be a really fun one to watch and see how it goes. And going to be a first time we get to see the new experiment racetrack as well. A mile and a half plate track or plate race going to be an interesting one to watch unfold.
And we look forward to seeing you guys next week for Atlanta Motor Speedway with that newly reconfigured track. That does it for Jay and myself. For the first time this season, I should have the points here at the end of this video so you can kind of see what the playoff grid and whatnot looks like. But thank you all so much for taking the time of your day for watching. And we will see you guys next week with the brand new Atlanta Motor Speedway. Thank you for watching and have yourselves a great day.